From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. For most of the last century, car safety was about metal. Steel cages, reinforced frames, crumple zones. When something went wrong, you could hear it, with a rattle or a grind or a warning light. Today, safety comes in the form of millions of lines of code buried behind the dashboard. And often, when something goes wrong with the software, there's little or no warning, no sound. We just get a cryptic error message, which creates a new kind of problem, not just for drivers, but for accountability. So we wanted to take a look at what happens when convenience and code collide in the cars we drive. I'm Dina Temple-Weston, and this is Click Here. We tell true stories about the people making and breaking our digital world. And today, we have a story about a real car on a mountain road and a software update that didn't behave the way anyone expected.
And I still scratch my head. How can a company with a reputation like Volvo come out with a software update that basically could kill you?
Stay with us. You're listening to Click Here. I'm Dina Temple-Weston. Peter Rothschild is a retired radiologist, and early in his career, he was working in emergency rooms.
There's way too many accidents, car accidents.
So when it came time to buy a car, he had one rule: safety. And for decades, that meant one brand.
Your local Volvo dealer wants to make just one point: safety. The safety that's built into every Volvo. A steel safety cage surrounds the passenger compartment.
I figured, wow, that's going to be the safest car. So I've only bought Volvos. People used to come by my house and say, "Are you a Volvo dealer or something? You've got 5 of them sitting in your driveway."
25 Volvos later, he bought a new XC90 hybrid, thought to be one of the safest cars on the road. And that's when things started to glitch. First, the entertainment system, then the rear camera.
I was going, wait. I've been driving Volvos with entertainment systems for 15 years and never saw that before. This is crazy. What is wrong with this car?
At the dealership, the fix was simple. It's software. We'll just update it. They installed the patch and everything looked fine. So Peter headed out to visit a friend, someone who lives up a steep mountain road in Northern California.
A friend of mine who lives basically on top of a mountain in Carmel has a beautiful house, amazing. And everything was fine going up to his house. But coming down the mountainside, which is a 1-lane road without much of a guardrail, that's when the trouble started.
The dash cam footage shows a Northern California postcard at first: Monterey pines, coastal fog, sunlight bouncing off the Pacific.
This road was cut into this mountain. It's a very windy road.
Then the image jolts and the car lurches.
And this Volvo is an extremely heavy car. It's a hybrid car. It's got a battery in it. And I was so focused on keeping this car on the road.
And what's going through your head?
How do I stay alive? I mean, I kept trying the brakes. You didn't know what was on the other side of the curve, right? It could have been a school bus filled with kids. And I realized, that this car's not going to stop unless I stop it myself.
And as Peter struggled to keep the car on the road, time seemed to stretch. And in that strange, suspended moment, his mind flashed back to the dealership.
And the other thing I thought, I wish I didn't get that update.
That software update. We used to think of cars as metal and rubber. Now they're systems, software layered on top of steel. And when something goes wrong, it's no longer a broken part you can see or hear. It's a decision the car makes or fails to make in real time. like when Peter's car didn't slow down. Car companies now talk about themselves less as traditional auto manufacturers and more as so-called mobility tech firms. And with that shift comes updates over the air, fixes in the background, improvements pushed out while you sleep, kind of like your phone. And it seems to work great right up until the moment it doesn't. Then you have 5,000 pounds of car barreling down a narrow mountain road with little margin for error. Peter's mind started racing through his options. Maybe the emergency brake? He quickly vetoed that.
I was always taught that if you use your emergency brake, you can lock up your tires and spin out and totally lose control of your car. So I didn't want that to happen.
Then he had a small epiphany. Something pulled up from deep inside his memory.
You know, what do big trucks do when they come down a hill and they lose their brakes? Well, they go off on the side. On these ramps, they go uphill. And so I figured, well, let me just make one of those.
He swerved hard into the dirt and rocks.
The momentum carried it over the rocks and back onto the road, believe it or not. And then it stopped. I looked down the other side of the mountain, and I just go, oh my God. I couldn't believe I was still alive.
According to the dash cam, it only lasted about 20 seconds. But to Peter, it felt like forever. And when he got home, he wanted answers. Why did his brakes just go out? He went online and discovered he wasn't alone.
I'm facing some problems with the software updates.
Well, this is a new one here. The camera is just completely not working. Come on, Volvo.
It barely slows down when you let off the gas. Why?
As far as he could tell, this wasn't mechanical. It didn't feel random. It didn't feel like bad luck. It felt connected. And it happened just hours after that software update.
I wanted this to be looked into immediately because it was so incredibly scary. I mean, I've never been that scared in my entire life, and I do a lot of driving. So the next day after the accident, I sent the video to Volvo and I sent it to NHTSA.
NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, opened an investigation. So did Volvo. Eventually, they confirmed what Peter suspected. The culprit was a specific software release, version 3.514. The same update meant to fix the rear-view camera problem he'd had. And if you scan through the update notes, one line stands out. It reads, "The foot brake should feel less stiff right after starting the car." Apparently, that line of code told the brakes to ease pressure after about 90 seconds of coasting downhill in something called B mode. B mode is a common setting that uses the electric motor to slow the car. But in this case, the brakes eased pressure too much, which, on a mountain road, is exactly what you don't want.
It's like, okay, when you tested this software, did you not do that? Did they not drive it down a hill for over 100 seconds? How much was this software, before it was released, this bug fix software for a minor issue, even tested? You know, I tested their software for them. I was like a beta tester.
We asked Volvo about this, and they told us the error was rare, and that their testing procedures for software are robust and multi-layered. But when we asked them to walk us through those procedures, step by step, they declined, calling the process a key competitive differentiator and proprietary. So we reached out to someone who's been inside that world.
I'm a car guy, basically, as you would call it, right? Always.
This is Florian Roth. He's a German system engineer, and he oversaw Tesla's software releases for about 5 years. Now, he helps automakers modernize their fleets, and he says software isn't just a side project anymore. It's the car itself.
You know, you have hardware products, they age, right? And over time, they break. Software doesn't break over time.
And that's the attraction. It's faster to fix a glitch with code than with a wrench. But the process behind those fixes, it's surprisingly complicated. Florian walked us through it.
You have a bring-up period, and you have a verification and validation period, and then at the very end, you have what is called an acceptance test.
So first tests, then more tests of the software update, and then final sign-off. the digital equivalent of a crash test.
And after this is done, you actually have a piece of software that can be sent onto a piece of hardware to perform a certain functionality.
And later, if something does go wrong out in the real world, most modern car software has safeguards, systems designed to keep a glitch from spreading or knocking out something essential. Florian says it helps to think of it like a Wi-Fi at a hospital. There's a guest network, so you can still get your emails, and then there's a separate network that keeps things like ventilators and heart monitors running.
And if that monitor has a Wi-Fi connection, as an example, right? It loses Wi-Fi, but it should not lose the vital monitoring.
In other words, the system that streams music in your car shouldn't be able to whisper to the system that stops it. That's the principle. And even with rigorous testing, there's no way to recreate every real-world scenario. How a particular driver reacts, how long a car coasts downhill, how steep a mountain road really is. Those are edge cases, the moments no lab can fully simulate.
Afterwards, hindsight is 20/20. It's very obvious. You look at the numbers and it's like after 1 minute, 48 seconds or whatever it is, this and this happens. But you're looking at millions of lines of code, so to find a specific corner case is sometimes not as easy as it sounds.
Once a bug is found, the fix moves fast. Sometimes it happens at the dealership, other times it arrives quietly, over the air. A software update that lands while you're asleep without you doing a thing. So what happened to Peter's Volvo? Florian doesn't have access to Volvo's software, so he can't say for sure, but he suspects it wasn't one rogue line of code. He thinks it probably was a design flaw, a pathway between systems that shouldn't have been allowed, like that hospital Wi-Fi network, but without the firewall. Volvo told us the bug came from a supplier, but they didn't say which one. What we do know is this. Roughly 11,000 cars downloaded that faulty update, and almost immediately, Volvo issued an urgent safety recall, advising owners not to drive until it was fixed. And that fix, ironically, was another software update.
So basically, it was a bug fix to fix a bug fix. That's something you really don't want to hear from a car dealer.
Volvo told us that there were 3 related incidents, no injuries. But as of late October of last year, 150 drivers still hadn't installed the fix, which means, under the right conditions, the brakes on those vehicles could still fail. Unfortunately, in a world in which car companies become tech companies, software glitches like that aren't the only thing to worry about.
What happens if the computer controlling the car gets hacked? And I do some research and I find out that, hey, 2 dudes were able to kill the engine on this thing without ever laying a hand on it.
After the break, what happens when the code that controls your brakes isn't broken? It's breached. Stay with us. The fact that your car can now upgrade itself remotely, whether it's to add features or fix bugs, is, in one sense, really comforting. One less trip to the mechanic. But that same connection that makes updates possible is also what makes cars hackable.
There is a lot of damage that can be done through reverse engineering the software in these vehicles, finding vulnerabilities, and then developing exploits.
Kamel Ghali is a professional car hacker, a white hat hacker, that is. He lives in Japan, where he tests cars for flaws before criminals can find them.
We'll essentially analyze the system and report any vulnerabilities that we find and give the customer recommendations on how they can be remediated.
Ever since cars started getting screens, sensors, and GPS, cybersecurity researchers have been warning that every new feature adds a new doorway. The wake-up call came in 2015. A couple of researchers remotely took control of a Jeep Cherokee and then filmed it.
Do it. Kill the engine.
So we're killing the engine right now.
Guys, I'm stuck on the highway. What did he say? I think he's panicking. He's not gonna be able to hear us with that radio. It's so loud.
They were able to kill the engine on this thing without ever laying a hand on it. That was really the turning point in history when they forced the whole world to like, hey, let's pay attention to this. This could have happened to someone.
The scariest thing about it is that while hackers took a year looking for vulnerabilities, ultimately it wasn't some complex hack. They'd simply guessed the car's Wi-Fi password. That's all it took to turn someone's Jeep into a remote control car. These days, at the DEF CON hacking conference in Las Vegas, there's an entire car hacking village where researchers can legally try to break into real vehicles to make them safer.
We've got a lot of wonderful things going on here. As you can see, we've got a Rivian vehicle here that you can actually hack into. We also have a semi-truck here if you're interested in learning how to hack a semi-truck.
Most modern cars contain millions of lines of code. And according to one car hacker we talked to, there's a bug every 30 lines. That's what keeps penetration testers like Kamel busy, hunting for worst-case scenarios.
What if all the ambulances or police cars in a city got ransomware and just couldn't drive unless you paid 200 Bitcoin? Well, now you have a problem.
That hasn't happened yet. And Kamel says there's a reason. After that Jeep hack, automakers began taking security seriously. Today, every update they send carries a cryptographic signature, a kind of digital seal of authenticity. So when your car is told to update, it first verifies, is this an update from the car manufacturer? Or could this be a hacker?
That means that you use a private key to actually sign an update so that if the update is tampered or if there's an error in transmission, that it won't send a faulty version of that update to the target vehicles to make sure that, random people aren't able to modify the software.
In the US, NHTSA issued updated cybersecurity best practices for cars, but it was just guidance. It's non-binding. In other words, automakers are encouraged but not required to meet specific cybersecurity mandates in the US. And the US is a bit of an outlier. Other countries are requiring much more robust changes.
There are laws now that are saying, hey, automakers, you have to invest time and money into making this happen. In Europe and Japan, for example. In America, not yet, but we might get there someday.
Japan's National Institute of Information and Communications Technology helps automakers proactively detect threats. In the European Union, the UN Regulation 155 requires a cybersecurity management system for vehicles and mandates incident notification rules. Under the EU's Cyber Resilience Act, manufacturers must tell owners and regulators when a hack happens, essentially 72 hours after they know. Michael Brooks with the Center for Auto Safety hopes the U.S. catches up.
It is completely 100% up to the manufacturers to ensure the cybersecurity of their vehicles. And right now, I would say they're not doing it because security is an added expense for them that, potential buyers, ultimately, that's not something you're looking for in a car.
He says there are no federal standards for testing car software, nothing like the crash test certifications we see for seatbelts. In aviation, Michael says, the feds vet plane designs before they're built. But cars are basically self-certified. Manufacturers build them, check a safety box, and start selling. So the people who are supposed to be protected, the drivers, end up being the testers. And Michael argues that needs to change.
Now that we're entering this new software era, I think there should be a renewed call for that type of thing to occur in America.
And Peter Rothschild, the former Volvo evangelist, couldn't agree more.
The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety needs to start evaluating the software of these cars. Software controls the car. And you cannot say this car is safe without evaluating the software.
The Institute told us many of its tests already involve software around things like auto braking and lane assist, but that combing through millions of lines of code, testing every possible corner case, just isn't realistic. Still, Peter's story is a warning. The old measure of safety, the steel cages and crumple zones, no longer tell the whole story. Cars today are computers with wheels. They update themselves while you sleep and sometimes fail while you drive. We spent a century crash testing metal. Maybe the next safety test should be for code. Because when car companies start acting like tech companies, sometimes the bugs aren't just in the system, they're on the road. This is Click Here. Here are some of the top tech stories making news this week. It's Tuesday, January 27th.
Now, this is the first time the Trump administration has acknowledged that DOJ employees mishandled Social Security records.
After months of denials, the Trump administration is now acknowledging something it had long resisted saying out loud, that the Department of Government Efficiency improperly accessed and shared Americans' Social Security data. The admission didn't come in a press conference or congressional testimony. It actually surfaced quietly in a court filing tied to a federal lawsuit. According to that filing, DOJ copied some of the government's most sensitive personal data and uploaded it to Cloudflare, an outside cloud server not authorized to store it. What information exactly was shared and whether it's still there remains unclear. The documents also reveal something else, that DOJ agreed to share Social Security data with a political group, one searching for evidence of voter fraud, with the stated goal of overturning election results in certain states. The Social Security Administration says it had no idea this was happening until late last year. Even before that, a federal judge called DOJ's effort a fishing expedition, based on little more than suspicion. And even after all that, the search turned up no evidence of widespread fraud in Social Security programs. Now, 2 Democratic members of Congress are calling for prosecutions.
And TikTok is here to stay.
After years of uncertainty, TikTok, it turns out, is not going anywhere. The popular social media app has finalized a deal to spin off its U.S. operations, ending a long battle over whether it would be banned, sold, or shut down. TikTok's Chinese parent company, ByteDance, has reached an agreement with a group of non-Chinese investors to create a new U.S.-based version of the app. The new ownership group, led by software giant Oracle, Emirati investment firm MGX, and the private equity firm Silver Lake, will control more than 80% of the American entity. Former TikTok head of operations Adam Presser will take over as CEO. The deal is meant to ease long-standing national security fears that ByteDance could be compelled to share U.S. user data with the Chinese government. Under the new arrangement, American user data will be stored domestically on systems run by Oracle. And TikTok's powerful recommendation algorithm, long at the center of those concerns, will be licensed to the U.S. company, allowing it to be retrained and updated using American user data. The UK may be inching closer to a dramatic move on children and social media.
The government will start discussions around whether there should be stronger rules about children's access to social media.
Last week, the House of Lords voted overwhelmingly, 261 to 150, to ban children under 16 from social media platforms. The vote came as an amendment to a schools bill. The government is expected to oppose it in the House of Commons, but more than 160 Labour MPs joined Conservatives in supporting the ban. If adopted, the amendment would give the government a year to work out the details, which platforms would be off limits, and how companies would implement what the bill calls a highly effective age verification system. Supporters point to the rising rates of poor mental health and online radicalization. Critics warn of unintended consequences, pushing kids toward less regulated corners of the internet and cutting them off from the positive aspects of online communities. For now, the government is moving ahead with a 3-month-long public consultation, weighing everything from an outright ban to overnight curfews to new ways of limiting what officials call doom scrolling.
Finally, some good news for artists. After Carlo Ortiz...
In a move that's being closely watched across the creative world, San Diego's Comic-Con has banned all AI-generated art from its art show. The decision followed an online backlash from artists and fans, some of whom threatened to boycott the convention altogether. In previous years, Comic-Con allowed AI art so long as it was clearly labeled and not sold. This time, the line was firmer.
Enough of us expressed outrage. AI image generation is never okay.
Other parts of the entertainment industry are following suit. Bandcamp, the music distribution platform, has announced it will no longer allow songs made substantially or entirely by AI. The resistance is being led by artists who say generative AI systems are built by scraping their work without permission, and that what's being lost isn't just income, but the value of human skill itself. Click Here is a production of Recorded Future News and PRX. Today's show was written and produced by Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Gaida, and Zach Hirsch. It was edited by Karen Duffin and Lou Olkowski, and fact-checked by Darren Ankrum. Original music is by Ben Livingston, with additional music from Blue Dot Sessions. Our staff writer is Lucas Riley, and our illustrator is Megan Goff. Jesse Neiswanger and Jake Cook are our sound designers and engineers. Find us on X or Facebook at Click Here Show, or leave us a voice message at 661-5CH-TALK. Sometimes we'll turn those moments into reporting, sometimes into a conversation, and sometimes into a future story you'll hear on this show. I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and thanks for listening.